Awesome. Okay, there we go. We are now live on Facebook. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on our newest installment of our conversation series. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Amanda Devison, and I am the newly elected president. The last few times I did this, I was the first VP. So this is the first time I've done it as president now of Business and Professional Women of Greater Moncton. So we kicked off this conversation series when COVID hit and everyone was kind of stuck at home, but we decided to really take advantage of this opportunity and reach out to some of the amazing women and organizations in the Greater Moncton and New Brunswick area to really kind of shine a spotlight on some of the amazing things on the go. And tonight will be no exception. My guest tonight is Denise Beaupre. So I'm going to give you guys her bio, and then we're going to kind of jump into a little bit of back and forth. I do have, as well as my iPad here. So for all of you guys watching, if you have any questions, comments, anything like that while we're chatting, feel free to throw them in there, and we'll take a look throughout. And if any of you guys are watching post view, please post live. Feel free to leave your comments and questions as well. We'll make sure that we tag Denise and she can come back and answer your questions. So without further ado, let me introduce our lovely guest speaker this evening. So Denise Beaupre is the owner and CEO of Auction Transport Services in Moncton, New Brunswick. She's a public speaker, an abstract artist, and the author of the best-selling book, Rise Above, Create the Abundant Life You Desire. Denise is well-versed in the challenges of operating a growing business in a male-dominated industry. She's a dynamic leader with a passion to build more leaders. She engages, motivates, and empowers her team to work towards professional and personal goals. She has seen her business grow from 1 truck to 30 trucks with continuous growth. Some of the awards she and her company have received in the last 5 years are Employer of Choice and Women Who Inspire in the Trucking Industry, which is the Trucking Human Resource Sector Council in Atlantic. Growth 500 for Canada's fastest growing companies, 3 years in a row with her latest 5-year growth of 283%. Globe and Mail's Report on Business, Canada's top growing companies with the last 3 years growth of 73%, and top companies for women to work in transportation from the Women's Trucking Association. Prior to this venture, Denise was a successful real estate agent for 13 years, selling over 750 homes with residential sales totaling over $100 million. She was recognized as a top 100 realtors in North America and the recipient of multiple awards for most listings, most sales, and highest commissions earned. So welcome everyone to Denise Beaupre. Thank you so much, Denise. It's very exciting to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting. And congratulations on becoming the president.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very, very excited. So I have a million things to talk to you about. I have your book here and I've read it and it's all marked up inside so I can make sure I ask about a bunch of different things. But before I get to all that, can you tell us a little bit about your journey to how you became CEO for Auction Transport? So let's start there.
It's a long story, so let's try to cut it short. The company was founded in 97. I came in the picture in 99. But back then it was small, it was 1 truck and it was, there was no need for me to be involved as much, but slowly I started doing, the billing, the invoicing, things like that. And it was after hours and, I just built it from there. Pretty much every position that is existing in the business right now, I've done over the years. Myself, and then would realize that, okay, we need to hire somebody. And that's how it went. From there, it grew. And for most of those years, I was a realtor. And as you mentioned, and towards 2015, I can't remember the exact date, but I found myself spending more time in the trucking business and kind of fell out of love with the career that I was in. And fell in love with the staff that were in the trucking business. And I just knew that I needed to be there for the growth. And I just made that quick decision. And then over time, so I was partnered in the business with my ex. And, there was a lot of challenges, but over time, the relationship dissipated. And we had to make a tough decision on who was going to be running the business. And that's what we did. And I'm the one that's still here and running the business by myself. So it's, there's a lot more to the story, but that's, I'll try to make it the shortest version, I guess.
So in that transition from realtor to the transport company, so I know you said like you kind of fell out of love with that realtor side, but was there a big change for you too? Like on a realtor, you're kind of, in a lot of ways, usually it's a lone wolf kind of business, or you have a small team, and now you have this much larger team with a company that's being recognized nationally for growth. So can you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, I mean, as a realtor, you're always busy and you're always interacting with people, but your office is your car basically, and with the occasional customer, and you're looking at houses. So when you're doing a transition like I did, now you're dealing with employees who have wants and needs and want to be heard. And that was a shock to my system, really. I remember sitting at my office and I had employees coming to me about, they wanted a raise or they wanted time off or and I was like, oh my God, who are these people? Like I was just going crazy because I wasn't used to that. But then,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a challenge because I didn't know how to deal with it. Nobody was showing me the way in, and I had to learn on my own and say, okay, how am I going to approach this? How am I going to deal with this? And I just decided to embrace it and really pay attention to what they were saying. And at the end of the day, I just realized how smart these people were, and that I did not have to run the business by myself. I had this entire team behind me that was there alongside me. And once I tapped into that, it was like a game changer for me. But that was one of the biggest challenges. And of course, you're also, for years, I was considered like the boss's wife. I did everything in the background. So the staff that we had, they knew I was there, but nobody really knew how involved I was behind the scene. I mean, I think I went through probably 15 or 16 years in this business without taking a paycheck. I took my first paycheck like 16 or 17 years into it. And so I did a lot of things in the background. So for my staff at the time, it was like, okay, what's going on here? Like, she doesn't have any credibility in this trucking business, and a female on top of that. But, it was well embraced because I showed them that I had good values, that I believed in them, and that I was on their side. And somehow it just all came together, and it was a blessing. Like, it was really a good transition. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of challenges, but it was an eye opener in many situations, for sure.
Yeah. So congratulations on tons of awards and being recognized from a variety of different places and sectors. So
Thank you.
What is it that kind of, I guess, drives that for you? So, you could have just stayed a small, local company. And so what has made you kind of strive to be recognized, to grow the business? So kind of what is that for you?
What was I thinking, right? So I don't know. I think it just comes natural. I don't know. I have big goals, and I think that that's so crucial for anybody. It doesn't matter if you have a business or not. You got to have goals in life and something that you want to attain. And that's what makes you get out of bed every morning. And I don't know, with the experience that I've had, and I grew up with parents that had a business, and, so I was exposed to many different things over the years. And I think I always had a feeling inside of me that I was meant to do something bigger, something, there's nothing, we need people in every position. So, I don't know. I think I had so many things to learn in the real estate, and learning to read people and learning to deal with people. But there was a big hunger for success, but success doesn't come easy. And really, when I came into the trucking, I really thought that I was going to just apply my sales experience. And that's really what I was coming in to do was, okay, let's grow this business, let's apply the sales. But it didn't quite happen that way. I had so many other challenges to face, like putting policies in place and procedures and structure and create a beautiful culture for the company and things like that. So, but I think it's just from my upbringing, my parents, my family, my everything, it's just in me. I tend to go for everything. if I start something, I want to finish it. So, and I want to be good at it, but it's not to be good better than somebody else. It's just, I'm competing with myself, right? It's
right,
yeah.
right, right. Well, that's pretty cool. And hopefully like, you'll have continued success as you move along. So I know, again, like you said, there's lots of challenges in that industry. I know as well, like even labor is one right now. A lot of the trucking industry is older, and not as many younger people filling those roles. So you'll be faced with a whole interesting new batch of challenges perhaps. But it'd be interesting to see too. I think you're in a unique position because of the fact that you're a woman leading this company, and there's not a lot of women who are in the transport industry. So it could potentially be an untapped source of labor for your company in particular, in that some women may consider taking some of those roles with your company versus perhaps a male run company. Because again, like you talked about implementing policies and procedures and culture, well, it depends. I don't know from experience, but it may just be easier to wrap your mind around as a female driver to work for a company that's run by a woman in that way. So, I mean, it could be an advantage for you as well. Who knows, right? Time will tell, I guess.
I think in general, it's not just, I mean, I have yet to have a female driver, and I can't wait to have a female driver. Like it's one of my goals. I need to have a female driver. But for us, we are such a specialized kind of transportation. Mm-hmm. And car haulers don't typically consider themselves truck drivers in a way. They consider themselves right. Car haulers because it's so specialized, and it's an art, it's a puzzle that they put together all the time. So a lot of people look at that as a challenge, and they are intrigued by it. And whether it's male or female that I employ, I have to be honest and say that some, even male, are intrigued by the fact that there's a female leader, owner, and I don't know, I think there's a sense of comfort. Right. Times have changed, and I do get that. I don't get a lot of backlash, or a lot of them are like, wow, this is so different, but it's welcomed. And I don't get a lot of backlash.
That's good. Yeah. No, for me, in my mind, as someone in a little tiny car on the highway, anyone with one of those big trailers is a truck driver.
Yeah. But no, every load is different.
Exactly. That's true. Yes. And at my previous life also, I worked at Pepsi. So I knew a lot of the drivers there, and same thing. Like, they were very particular about how things are loaded on their trucks and kind of the safety aspects. And so it is very complicated. Like it's a very like, just underknown or misunderstood type of job, because it is very complicated. There's a lot of things they juggle in terms of responsibility. It's not just hopping in a seat and kind of driving a vehicle. It's actually quite interesting if you start talking to people who work in any form of transportation, the amount of thought and care that goes into this stuff, because it's goods, right? It's goods and services. So it's quite interesting, the dynamic. And I can only imagine the ones where I always look at them when I'm driving by with all the cars in the different, I'm just like, oh, that would be so stressful. So
let's just say we do have some damages sometimes, but not a whole lot, but it does happen.
Yes. Yeah. Same thing. I'm sure. I know more than enough bottles of pop don't make it to the store either. So, it's just kind of a hazard of the job, I think. So, so shifting gears to the book. So my first question on that is, like, what drove you to write a book, and when did that become something you wanted to do?
Well, I'd probably say like 2017, 2018, I was being mentored by Bob Proctor from The Secret. I don't know if you guys know who he is, and I don't know, I was open to any opportunity. I was just learning to know myself and to grow as a person. And there were so many wonderful people that were coming into my life and introducing me to different opportunities. And this lovely woman, Peggy McCall from Ottawa, she was a New York Times best-selling author who was mentoring people, she still does, on writing books. And, her idea is that everybody has a book inside of them. And I had never, ever thought of writing a book. but the entire growth process that I was going through, all of a sudden it was just like, well, why not? Why not? I felt that I had something to share. I'm all about helping others, especially once you're going through this growth, personal growth. You see so much beauty in people and beauty in yourself, and you're realizing you're capable of so many things, and you want to be able to help others develop that or acknowledge that with themselves. So I don't know, it was just something that it intrigued me, and she invited me to stay at her cottage in Ottawa for an overnight. I believe we spent a good part of the first day just chatting, because I had no idea what to write about. I kind of knew, but it was like, what direction do I go with this? And she just got to know me. We discussed what was going on in my life, my business. And then the next day we just put a plan together, and you know, it was like, okay, well, this is the title, and this is going to be the chapters, and this is what you need to talk about. And it took me, I think, about 2.5 months to write. And and it was like a whole summer, every night coming in and just writing. I was dedicated, but it was a good experience. Now I want to write another one.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
And so for me, as you can probably tell from my background, this isn't just decor. These are my actual books. So I am a book person, and I still like physical books. I've had e-readers, and I don't know, there's something about having an actual book in my hands. So when you gave me a copy of your book, I was very excited, and personal development is one of the areas I read a lot about and stuff like that. So I was excited to be like, this is a local person, it's a woman, she's running a trucking company. Like, this is going to be really cool to kind of read. She has a book, like, come on. So I thought it was very cool. And also I read it, like, every night I read an hour before I go to sleep. And I read this in 2 nights. Like, there was one night I just kept going. Like, it was well past the time I was supposed to go to sleep.
Oh, that's good. But it's a quick read.
I was like, no, what's going to happen next? So, so I was very excited, and I want to ask you about a whole bunch of things. So let's try that out. So first thing is, you talk about in the beginning of the book is that you ask people to imagine they have a blank canvas, and kind of how do they want to address it. And so, like, first off, that people basically have 3 options with this canvas, and they can leave it blank. They can let someone else take over and paint it, or they can paint it themselves and add all the colors they wish and create whatever you want. So can you kind of maybe elaborate on that? So what is it you're trying to convey there to people? What is it they should take away from that concept of, you know, having the blank canvas, and which option they should really lean into?
It really is about taking risks. And at the end of the day, we all have something in common, which is fear. Anything that we try to accomplish or tackle, or we all have fear. Can I do this? Do I really have the skills? Or people are going to laugh at me, and this and that. So by leaving the canvas blank, you're basically deciding that you don't feel that you have what it takes to take that risk. Other times it's like, yeah, I want to, but I don't want to go 100%, you know, like and most of the time other people are going to take over, and that happens a lot. And we go, shoot, I had that opportunity and I just didn't take it. And then it's really just splatter the paint all over that blank canvas and just take the chance, because we're always trying to know all the answers. We are so determined that we're only going to take that chance or that move or that risk if I know the outcome, or if I know how it's going to happen. And that's what we need to stop worrying about, because the universe has our back, and it just happens on its own, whether we acknowledge it or not. So it's really just about taking risk.
Okay. Yeah. And I did actually, and before we went live, you and I were chatting, and I did want to say this as well to everybody listening, is that it's quite an interesting read. The fact that you wrote this book before COVID, and then I read it during COVID. I keep wanting to say after COVID, we're not quite there yet, but during COVID. And I just think it was very interesting, because there was just so many really great points in here that resonated with me. And I just think they'll resonate a lot more with people now, because COVID was such a disruptor in everyone's lives. It really made us pause and understand all the things we took for granted. And I think a lot for the people like go out and get this book and read it, there'll be a lot of things that you're going to be a lot more open to. Like if there was people who think it's woo woo or whatever, or, you know, was not for them. I think there's a lot of messages in this that people will really take to heart more so now that our entire lives were turned upside down. It just has, one of the silver linings of COVID has been the time to reflect and decide, what are you going to do? Maybe you shouldn't wait to do it, all those kind of things. So I thought it was just very interesting because your voice is through a time when COVID didn't exist. And I was reading it as a person living in that moment. And it was so interesting to, like, the message I just felt came through so much clearer, having been in this position where everything kind of flew out the window. So I just wanted to put that out there for people, that I think that a lot of the things you talk about here are going to really resonate and sit with people a lot more now, in greater numbers because of what happened. So I know that the second chapter is When Pigs Fly, and I noticed the painting behind you. So you want to tell us a little bit about about pigs flying and your painting?
So chapter 2 is about it is called When Pigs Fly, and it's about setting goals and different types of goals. Now, this is not something that I created myself as far as what type of goals exist. I mean, this is a lot through the mentoring that I received about an A goal, a B goal, a C goal. I just gave them names. Mm-hmm. So there's an attained goal, a mediocre goal, and then there's the When the Pigs Fly goal, which everybody should be aiming for, because if you're trying to attain a goal that you already know how to do, it's not a goal. And a mediocre goal is just, you need to tweak a couple of things in your life to attain, but you're just not willing, or it's just not that important, or you start, but you give up real quick. And then you've got this, out of this world kind of fantasy that maybe from when you were a child, or I don't know, that you always wanted to do. And all of a sudden this is, yeah, right, that would never happen. Well, you know what? A pig would never fly neither. Right? So that's why I say when pigs fly. Yeah, right, when pigs fly. Well, I want people to come up with a goal that's so big that that's what they say. Anyways, when I wrote that book, and my best friend, I don't know, we were shopping one day and we started seeing pigs with wings everywhere. And all of a sudden it just became a collection of mine. So now I collect pigs with wings. So they're not easy to find. So if anybody has a pig with a wing at home, just call me and I'll buy it or whatever. But anyways, at Christmas 2 years ago, she surprised me with this painting, and I'll show you. She had it done by Kathy Dueron in Mountain here. And it's a pig and it's got wings. And then everything white around it is like a loose leaf where I would have written my book. And they're all quotes from my book.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was a really nice gift. And yeah, I get a lot of comments because now we're doing a lot of virtual calls. And
yes.
A lot of people are asking me, what is that painting you've got behind you? So that's where it came from.
That's awesome. And then you end that chapter by telling people to complete the sentence in the present tense. I'm so happy and grateful now that, and then a bunch of dots. And can you explain to people why it's important to put it in the present tense?
Because it's as if you already have it. Okay. If you speak like, I will, well, then you're not really believing it, because it's all about attaching emotion and believing that you already have it. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes like I get so excited about thinking of something that I want. I don't even have it, but then I get butterflies inside of me and things like that. So it's almost like I'm living it, I'm visualizing it, right? So that's the whole point, to put it in the present tense as if it's already here, you're already living it, so that your emotions and everything you do every day just becomes like, it's as if you're living that When Pigs Fly goal. And it's important to live in the moment. And
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then the next, so like you had mentioned, some of the goals that you talk about is mediocre goals. And so the next chapter is really about removing mediocre from your life. And one of the stories that resonated with me is where you talk about where, sometimes you get in your car and then the next thing you know, you're at your destination, but you don't even remember how you got there. And about how it says, you say, instead, let's go through life purposefully. And I thought, again, that was a really, COVID moment, one of those lines that stood out to me is that I think a lot of people are now trying to make that choice to live purposefully and mindfully and aware a lot more, because, you know, now everything, you don't want things to go by in a blur. We want COVID to go by in a blur, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I thought that was very profound. And then I thought another thing, you start talking about how there's so many different generations in the workforce and how they all have so many different values and kind of the way they view work. And I thought it was really interesting. Can you tell the story about the young man? There was a young man you said you dismissed after 2 weeks because he was always on his phone.
Yeah. So I can't remember what position. I think he was kind of like in the dispatch. And I mean, we're so used to taking notes and writing cursive writing. That's how we were taught. And this young man, we hired him, and he just was always on his phone, and everybody was complaining. They were just complaining, like, he's not paying attention, he's not taking notes. So we dismissed him. But at the end of the day, we realized different generation, no cursive writing. They take notes on their phones, and that's really what he was doing. But I made the mistake and not realizing that he was actually taking his notes, and he was doing it the way he learned it. So, you know, we do have different generations that are still in the workforce that we need to accustom ourselves to. And we need to appreciate all the strengths that they have and bring to the table. That's really
and I think too, that resonated with me, because I haven't even thought of that. So like, I'm a millennial, but Gen Z again, or that's when the, you know, no cursive writing, don't teach spelling, everything's on a electronic device of some sort. And even that struck me. I was like, I would never even think of that. You always just think they're staring at their phone. You don't, and you think they're doom scrolling like the rest of us do, but that doesn't necessarily, that generation's always been using those devices for everything. So it's not necessarily that they're just on their social media or texting. They may actually be taking notes, but just their heads buried in their phones. So I thought that was interesting.
And they're probably being trained by a different generation. So it's not like they're being trained by their own generation. And eventually that will happen. I mean, we're going to get to that point, because this millennial and the Generation X are going to take over, and they're going to be the new leaders, obviously. But until then, you know, we're going to have a mixture. And, you know, I'm happy. You know, we tend to prejudge, oh my gosh, the millennials or the Generation X, their work ethics are not the same, but really they are very, very smart people. And they are helping us with the technology that most of us are scared of learning or touching. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to break it. But they're not. And with the way the world is going right now and the changes that we're experiencing, we have no choice but to embrace those generations and welcome them and say, you know, teach us. They're now the teachers, honestly.
Yeah. And I think too, another thing that got blown wide open with COVID and everybody working from home is the entire concept of you need to be in an office. People need to physically see you. Otherwise you're not working. And that's a generational thing I've run into with people, is like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, well, what difference does it make? We have all this technology. Like I could go sit in a coffee shop and get all my work done. Like I don't understand that. But some generations, it's like you punch the clock, like you're there on time and you leave on time and there's no in between. And people need to, if they walk by your office, you're there with a bunch of papers. And that's how you proved you were working. And so I think that was an interesting part of COVID too, is it blew that whole theory out the window, because every single company across the entire planet now had to operate from everybody's home. So hopefully that's something we continue to kind of take on moving forward. And then also you talked about the difference between the big retail giants. So for example, we all remember Sears or Zellers, or, you know, there's all kinds of them. And that, exactly. So what's the difference between them and Amazon? Because Amazon's still a retail giant. They're just, their delivery model is different. And you say that the ones that closed their doors remained mediocre in comparison to their competition. So I thought that was very profound as well, because I mean, places like Amazon have only continued to get bigger. But I think also on the same spin, like if you look at it from a buy local perspective, which is kind of taken over in the pandemic, is that you even see it in the small business scale, right? Those small business people that were focused on being better and first to market and curbside pickup and all those things, they have maintained or even gained customers, because a lot of us switched to, well, how many things can I buy local?
Or online
or yeah, like, and through social media, whatever it is. But those people that kind of stuck their head in the sand and didn't adapt to any of those, they maintained mediocre. They're struggling or have closed.
I think, you know, let's turn it back to women in business. Okay. Like, how many years has it been shrugged upon, or like, you know, or not welcome? It's sort of the same thing. I think that what happened was that the leadership then was so much behind closed doors. And as the leaders started opening the doors and letting few people in every so often, they then realized that people had great ideas, or that people were smarter than they thought. And this is where the women came out of the woodwork, you know, like all of a sudden the doors started opening and they're entertaining new ideas. And in this world, we have to be creative. You know, I talk about, maybe you're going to mention that later, but about competition, you know, some of these retail giants were so well set and they were making a lot of money, and they just never thought that things would ever change. And once it started changing so fast that they couldn't keep up. And we can't get caught up in that. Now we're in the type of world where, you know, if you don't keep up, you're out. It's just, you know, so it's all about creativity. And if you and I are not creative, and if we don't think creatively, well, the younger generation are creative. They're the ones that are going to take over. And they're just going to take either a product or a service that already exists and just recreate it in a different way. I mean, look at Uber, and you know, we don't have it in Moncton here, but it took over the taxi world. And like you said, Amazon, and you know, they're just taking something that already exists and recreating it. And we have to be open to that, because this is changes here.
Yeah. And I think back to, like, I mean, everybody in the pandemic's been binging streaming services like Netflix, right? And how Blockbuster didn't.
Yeah.
They were offered the opportunity to buy Netflix for something like 55 million or something. And they're like, nah. Yeah. Back when Netflix used to mail you a DVD, which is also a crazy idea to think about. And
that would never work. You know? So yeah, exactly.
And now they don't exist, and Netflix is gigantic. And Amazon used to just sell books, and now look what happened. So it's kind of like you said, it's just like, you have to be creative and kind of be willing to kind of embrace that change and go with it, because it's unbelievable how it just kind of like takes off.
It used to be, if it's not broke, don't break it. Now, if it's not broke, break it and come up with something different, or a different approach. And it's about, you know, okay, well, what do I do to approach or to attract new customers, let's say, or new clients? And that's what we have to do, is really think outside the box.
Yeah. And this other line here stood out to me again, in a pre-COVID world and in a current COVID world. You said, you and I could face the same reality if we chose to be oblivious of the fact that we must embrace change. It's here and it's now. And I thought it was so interesting to read that line. Like it was almost like, you know, you were just kind of foreseeing the future there.
Well, and you know what? It's funny, because I read that book now, and I think I wrote that book for myself 2 years ago, so that maybe I could go through life with. It's funny, because you reread it and you go, oh my gosh, I really needed to hear this today, but I'm actually the one that wrote the book. So it is funny. And you're right, like I was talking about change back then, because I was seeing it in the industry that I was in. I was seeing it in the other industry, the real estate, like everything was happening so fast and changing. And now it's almost like COVID happened. And I look at COVID as, okay, we don't know how to deal with all these changes. So temporarily, we're going to have to send everybody home until we figure out how to reinvent the world, is the way I look at it. And then when we know how to reinvent the world, we'll let everybody out again. And then we'll have a new way of doing everything.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
That's true. So let me see what I want to talk about next. So you've already mentioned kind of that your competition is really supposed to be yourself. Like stop focusing on other people and worry about kind of what you're doing. And there was a really interesting comment you made that when you started running the trucking business, that, you know, you'd find yourself thinking about the competition. And then one day it was like a light switch went off in your head, and you asked yourself, did you ever stop to think that the competition is looking at us, wondering how we got our business? Yeah. And I think that's such a great like perspective flip.
I think we do that in everything. We don't really realize that it's competition, but we're looking at what everybody else has or what they're doing. If somebody has a bigger house or a bigger car or, whatever, I think that's human nature, and it's sad because we take our sight off ourselves. And I had learned that lesson early in the real estate career, because I mean, back then we were putting all the leaders on the board and who did what. And it was like, then you get really distracted. So that comment that you're talking about in the trucking, it was mostly coming from my employees. It was almost like they wanted to report to me what my competition was doing. Right. And I was like, don't worry about it. Like my trucks are full, they're going down the road. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't need to look at the competition. You do need to look, but you don't need to put too much attention to it and worry about it. All you need to do is do the best you can. And let them, if they're going to be distracted, let them be distracted with you, not the other way around. Because I honestly don't think about my competition. And even if I hear comments, it is what it is. And there's enough supplies. There's enough business for everybody. It's just we need to figure out a way to bring it to us. But if we're always worrying about what the other person, I mean, how often do you see people competing? Oh, if my neighbor has a bigger house, then I have to go buy a bigger house. That is so materialistic, and it's so it's out of this world. It's not necessary.
Yeah, like one of the things you said there is, if you operate from a place of creativity and growth, you'll always find business and you'll always achieve your goals. There's enough business, enough supply of any sorts, and lots of inventions that have yet to be invented. Rise above the competition. And I just think that's so, again, another one of those comments, right? That I feel like that's a comment that would resonate with everyone living in this moment now. Is like, you know what, if you were running the race for so long, and I mean, I look at it from the perspective of too, like, look at the housing market right now in even New Brunswick, right? Crazy record sales for months and months now. A lot of these houses are selling to people who do virtual tours or sight unseen, right? And it's people who are living in the large like urban centers like Toronto and your Vancouvers and all that stuff, who once COVID hit, they don't want to be part of the rat race anymore. They don't want to be in the 2-hour transport the traffic, like, the I can't even think of the word I'm trying to think, but like the commute, there it is. Yes. So the 2-hour commute to work and the 2-hour commute back, and they don't want to not see their partner, and they don't want to not see their children. They don't want to not have pets or only see them. Like, they want to actually live a life. They want to have a yard, and they want to see their family, and they want to celebrate holidays, and they want to be able to take their vacation. And so it's so interesting to me that I think that was kind of one of the mind shifts that happened. Is everybody before thought you had to be in those places if your career was going to advance. And now people are seeing, wait a minute, I gave up a lot to do that. And what do I have as a result of it? Yeah. Especially when you have to self-isolate in like a tiny little, 2-bedroom apartment, and you have to live there and work there, and everything is happening right there.
Some people don't even have a 2-bedroom apartment. I mean, some of them are like in a bachelor apartment. They have to live there, and they can't go anywhere, and they have no backyard. They have nowhere to go. They can't even get in the elevator unless it's only one person at a time or whatever. But it's almost like cancer. When you talk about cancer, and it does not discriminate. It doesn't matter how much money you have in this world. If you get cancer, it is what it is. Okay. COVID is similar to that. And there's, in a sense, it's like a sense of comfort knowing that we are not the only ones going through it. It's the entire world. But if you look at Hollywood, for example, all the new shows that we're used to watching, movies and things like that, it has put a stop to everything. So it does not matter how much money you make. It does not matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Right? Because it's affected the entire world, and it's shutting down, So, and it brings a sense of awareness, like you're saying, and appreciation for what we have.
Yeah. And a reframing, I think, of values and ideals for people is that, if one of your values is your health, and one of your values is your family and your friends, well, are your actions reinforcing those values? Or is that just, are those values just lip service you're giving yourself? Because if the decisions you're making every day and the actions you're taking aren't actually in alignment with those values, then are they really your values? And I think that was for a lot of people that really, when the whole world crashed down around everyone, they really realized really fast what was important, right?
Because it's sad. I mean, we're seeing people dying of COVID and they're dying alone. They can't see their families. And previous to the pre-COVID, I mean, you know, we tend to say we're too busy. We don't have time to go visit, or we do, you know, and now it's taken away from us. And it's like, oh my gosh, now I want to see my parents. Now I want to do this. Now I want to, you know, and
I want to take that vacation that I kept saying I can't be away from my career that for 2 weeks to go backpacking in Europe or whatever it is, right? Like, but maybe now you should, because now you know no one can travel. So
when they open the flights again, I'll bet you it's going to be busy.
It's going to be busy. Yes. So here's the chapter this is the chapter I couldn't go to bed for, because I started to read it. It was like,
I know which one.
Yeah, I bet you do. I was like, okay, no, I need to ask about this. And even if this is the only thing I talked to you about tonight, I had to know. So you talked about, at one point you were like completely exhausted. You were mentally, physically just out, and the stress between running the business, all that stuff was really piling up. And so you found a retreat, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, called a Vipassana meditation.
I think it's Vipassana. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Something like that. Whatever.
And it's a meditation retreat for 10 days of silence. A 10-day silent retreat. No phones, no internet, no contact with the outside world, no books. I was like, I'm out. Because I was like, oh, okay, those things. No pens. I know. I was like, oh my God. Just 12 hours a day of meditation and alone time.
Yeah. Crazy.
You didn't know, because you can't talk, you didn't know who your roommates were or why they were there, let alone why you were there. That's funny. Your suppers consisted of apples, oranges, and bananas. Everything was vegetarian. And you made one comment too about like your bones aching because you would be sitting there for like 12 hours just meditating. And so tell me about this. I need to know more about this.
I have no idea why I went searching for that. I honestly don't. I think it was probably a time, like I said, I was going through a personal growth and wanting to know myself. And I knew it wasn't going to be an easy challenge, but I had no idea where I would find silence. And I didn't know that I was going to have to do it for 10 days. I just wanted to find something. So I did. And a lot of people thought I was crazy, and they thought she'll never last because you can tell I like to talk. But I did, and it was quite an experience. And yeah, I didn't know why I was there, but the Vipassana meditation is a beautiful technique because, like you're saying, the aching and all that, it really, the whole point of that type of medication, but because there are different types of meditation, okay? Mm-hmm. And this type was to show you, and I forget the name they used, but it was to show you that nothing lasts forever. Oh. So when you're like aching, you want to move your body. If you get an itch, you want to scratch. Yeah. Well, it was teaching you that it will pass. So even if you have an itch, do not scratch. Even if you're aching, it will go away. So it was quite an experience in that sense. And it's true in life. Like, you know, let's just go back to real estate, what you were saying earlier about it's booming. Well, it was booming back then in 2003 when I started in real estate, and everything has a cycle, right? Yes, so it went from a seller's market to a buyer's market to now I'm going into business, but it's back to our feelings too. Like nothing lasts forever. Everything has a cycle. And it was to make you aware of the knots, they call it, in your body, because we have so much pressure, so much stress, so much addictions, you know, and we talk about addictions like, you know, an alcoholic or a smoker or a gambler or whatever. Those are easy to identify, but when you're talking about lying, drama, judging, you know, those are all addictions that we have, and we don't realize them. And then we just make ourselves sick. We worry too much. We're making ourselves sick. So this was a way to kind of heal your body in a sense. It was pretty
And
interesting. No talking was hard.
Yeah. And where was this? Was this in Canada? Was it in
Yeah, it
in
was
the
in,
States?
it was, no, there's some all over the world, but this
Mhm.
one here was in just outside of Montreal, Montebello,
Okay.
it's not far from that ski hill, Mont Saint Anne, I think. Anyways, it's out there past
I
Montreal.
think Quebec.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah.
But I thought that's what I liked a lot about where you said, like, if you can see someone drinking or someone that drinks too much or too often, and you can recognize that, you know, if they're an alcoholic, and same if somebody's smoking, they're a smoker, and that's an addiction. But things like abandonment, negativity, drama, technology, fear. I thought that was very profound. I was like, that is so interesting to think about. And then you also talked about too, is like how many times you promised yourself to go on a diet. It goes on for a week or two and suddenly you give in and eat a piece of cherry cheesecake. Now you feel guilty. You're upset and disappointed with yourself and you attach guilt to that emotion. The guilt is your addiction more than the cherry cheesecake is. And I was just like, what? I was like, oh my God.
Do you ever hang around or go for coffee with somebody, or I don't know, surround yourself with people that are always negative? Doesn't matter what you have for a conversation. It doesn't matter, or they're always sick, or those are the addictions. They're addicted to the negativity. They're addicted to the judging. They're addicted to that, but we're not aware enough to differentiate that, I guess. So we continue to surround ourselves with that. And then all of a sudden we're addicted to the same thing. You know, it's toxic. And those are the things, like you said, we don't see that. We don't see that in people. You can see their results in life, but you don't really know what's causing the results. Well, the negativity and everything like that, that's what's causing the results, right?
Yeah. I just thought it was such a profound statement, because it seems to me like it should be so obvious, but it's not, because it's true. Because if anyone that's done, everyone's done it, pretty much everyone in the world has gone on a diet of some sort and then cheated on that diet and then felt guilty for like massive amounts of time, for way longer than it took you to eat that whatever you felt guilty about. And it's literally the entire concept to me of like, oh my God, it's the guilt that's your addiction, not the food. And I was like, oh, anyways, that one gave me goosebumps, because I was just like, whoo, that was a moment. It was quite interesting. So and then I liked too where you talked about the reason why you're not supposed to be talking to people during the 10 days is that it's human nature for us to want to share our experiences with other people, which is essentially what we're doing right here. So I'm no hater on that. Once you start sharing, you compare, and then your experience is easily altered because you find yourself wondering why your thoughts or sensations aren't the same as your friends. So I thought that was really interesting ideas, because like, if you're literally in this place, how many other people were there the same time?
Oh my gosh, there were hundreds. Like it was big. It was it was big. I don't know how many people exactly, but there was a female section and a male section, and they were divided. You weren't allowed to interact, but yeah, there was lots. Now every meditation place in the world all have different sizes, but mine, the one I was at, was fairly big. So yeah, I mean, okay, let's go back to COVID for an example, because I think about this a lot. Okay, how many of us are on the news regularly listening to the COVID news? Okay, or how often are we talking about, well, I believe in the vaccine, I don't believe in the vaccine, and then your thoughts are altered by what other people are thinking, right? So it comes back to the same thing. If they would have allowed us to talk, and every time we left that meditation room, we'd be like, oh my God, I'm aching. Oh my God, like this is hurting. I don't want to do this again. And then, then nobody would have gotten up every morning to go meditate, you
would have like commiserated together.
You're influenced by everything around you. We're influenced by the media. We're influenced by our friends. We're influenced by the company we work for. We're influenced by everybody. We're getting to a point where we don't know what's reality and what's not, what's false news, so we just have to learn to think for ourselves.
Yeah. And I thought that was super interesting for me. So that chapter to me was awesome. Like I loved
That's
everything about
everybody's favorite chapter.
That's the one I just kept flipping pages. I was like, oh my God. Like I had to know more about this 10-day silence retreat because it just blew my mind. So shifting gears, I know I'm like halfway through the book, I gotta get faster. So you talk about continuous growth, and like I thought that was interesting. You kind of break it down for people to kind of ways in which they can keep learning and growing. And again, I think in the COVID environment view, a lot of this stuff would resonate as well. So it talks about reading, travel as much as you can, which that is a huge way to learn for sure, is there's so much education in travel. So so you say, give yourself the gift of exploration and education. I'm not talking about going back to school. I'm talking about the school of life. Understanding how we live compared to other parts of the world is astonishing, and you'll soon realize there are so many opportunities out there. You can't expect to grow if you continue to confine yourself to your way of life as if it's the only way. And I thought that was so interesting too, because everybody knows that person that never left their hometown, right?
Yeah.
You all know them. You all know somebody who never left your hometown, never went on a vacation, never lived 20 minutes up the road, like nothing. And their world stays very small by comparison to anybody that's ever lived somewhere else or traveled even for a vacation. And you start to realize, again, all the things you kind of take for granted. Like there's still always all kinds of improvements to make in a lot of things. But when you go to a country where there's legitimate poverty and you see that, it's much more profound and gives you it kind of just readjusts your, I don't know, your arrogance or whatever chip on your shoulder. It kind of softens that those pointy edges that you may have about life and about things that you complain about. It softens some of that stuff because, you know, there are some people in the world that have much, and we're seeing it now we talk about COVID, like India, like those variants spread very fast because they don't even have the luxury to be able to socially distance and isolate as them. There's too many people. There's physically too many people. Yeah. And so like, it's kind of one of those crazy things. We have people here, you know, whining and complaining and having protests about masks and having to stay in their own comfortable homes that they've spent tons of their own money on, right? Like these are people who you spend, what is it, 30% or more? A lot of people spend more than that on their housing. And then they're upset to have to stay in the house that they're spending most of their income in. So it's kind of one of those things that's really weird, right? Because then you have people in other parts of the world where right now, a lot of people in India would love to be able to stay in a house and not interact with some people for a while so things could calm down. So again, it's one of those things that
I think it just brings us down to earth. It just brings us to a different level of, you know, you're being down to earth and understanding that there's different ways of living out there. And yes, some are in poverty and some are doing very well. You know, I talk about people that are raised with 4 languages right in school. And, you know, some of us have a hard time learning more than one language. So, it's a beautiful thing to see all these things while we're traveling.
Yeah. And then another line that stood out to me in this COVID world, going back to kind of what you're talking about, and I guess maybe since the Trumpism world, but where you were talking about fake news and stuff, you said, it has been said that only 1% of the population thinks, 3% of people think they think, and 96% would rather die than think. And I thought that was...
Now, that's not from me. That's a quote.
Yeah, I know, but it's profound.
It is. And the 96% of the population that would rather die than think, that means they're the ones that are addicted to the drama and the negativity. And they would rather concentrate on talking about you rather than focusing on themselves. They're also the people that have a hard time to flip their thinking around or go over some hurdles or rising above type of thing. Then you got the 3% of the people that have a level of awareness that's sort of in the middle. You know, they can fall backwards or they can lift themselves up fairly quick. And then the 1% is very rare, but a 1% of the people that think, I would say I'd be like Oprah Winfrey or Bob Proctor, or those people that their level is so high that they've done so much work on themselves. And that's just my perception of who would fit in that category. But it's all about, we're afraid to think, we're afraid to be alone. That's why those 10 days I had to be alone. Most people don't want to be alone because they don't want to be facing
what they're really feeling or thinking. And that's kind of, I think, part of, again, what's caused a lot of the issues with the isolation required because of COVID is now all of a sudden people have had to, they can't distract themselves with work. They can't distract themselves with outings, and they can't distract themselves going out to dinner or going to the movies or going to a networking event. They have to sit with themselves, and some people are not liking what's happening. There's other mental health issues too that are driven by social isolation, which is a whole other thing. But I think some of it we're starting to see is people are having to sit there and be like, is this what I wanted to do? And is this who I want to be? And it's causing some,
or when they're alone with their thoughts, if they have no way of, if they've never been taught how to process their thoughts, or then it just gets worse and worse and worse, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a very dangerous thing that we have to watch. And I mean, even as a business owner with employees, I got to keep an eye on that all the time and make sure that people are healthy, and because we are in that world. And I'm lucky, I'm still at the office. I mean, we worked from home for 3 months on and off. We went back to the office, we went back home. And so, we've experienced both, but it's tricky.
And there's a great story. I'm not going to read it because I feel like I'm reading everyone. I'm just sitting here like story time, reading everyone your book. So there's a great story in here though about Thomas Edison that I think I hadn't heard before, and I think a lot of people haven't, that I thought was really great. So thank you for putting that in there. And I did like the line that you said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal or idea. So I thought it was great that you have the word a progressive realization, that it's not an immediate, it's not a one and done. You are being successful if you are taking even baby steps towards a worthy goal. So that's again, getting rid of that mediocre concept.
Yeah. And it's really, you have a goal, but by the time you achieve your goal, when you get there, it's almost like, oh, okay, I'm here now. It was the journey that was the exciting part, right? It's everything that you learned, or everything you struggled through, or everything you thought you were going to lose your mind over, is really what is bringing you to that next level or to that goal. And then when you get there, you come up with another goal, even bigger. You look at yourself, see how far you want to go. Once you get there, see how far further you can go.
Yeah. And I like to speak, kind of ties into what we talked about with the retreat was, you said it's up to you to decide which fears are worth conquering and which ones aren't. And I liked that too, because it's like, you can decide which fears you want to face, which ones are, impacting your life or not. You don't have to defeat them all, but which ones are worth conquering is I think too, it's just empowering to know that as a person, you're the one that has the choice. You can decide if you want to conquer those fears or not. So again, it's about taking that power back.
Comes back to me saying how we all live in fear. We all have it. It doesn't matter if you're part of that 1% of the population that think, or 3% of the population that think they think, and then 96% that would rather die. We all have that fear, but some of us can face the fears quicker and without having to know all the details. But it's a decision. You got to make decisions in life,
Yeah. And I like to, you say the creativity comes in all forms and sizes. You can be a creative mom or a creative entrepreneur. And I think that's important for people to recognize too, is that creativity is not restricted to a certain business or role or person. Like, you can be creative in anything you're doing.
Oh my gosh. We were talking about the generations earlier. Look at how many people are making money online right now and coming up with different ways of making money. And some of them are kids, like they're YouTubers or whatever. I mean, there's so many things. There's beyond opportunity. Like, I like how Bob Proctor would say it, like your phone, for example, that we all carry. The way to make the phone always existed. It was out there in the universe. It's just nobody ever thought it, So it's always there. The chair we sit on, everything that we do is already the idea. It's out there. It's just, some people will act on their ideas and some people won't.
Yes. Yeah. And then I thought another interesting thing you talk about is hiring a mentor or coach. And I think a lot of people think of the concept of a mentor or coach from a cost-free perspective, and maybe even sometimes an informal perspective. So I really wanted to get your thoughts on, can you explain to us your thoughts around that? And I know people should look at it like an investment, but can you explain why you decided to spend money on a coach or a mentor, and kind of what you got from that experience or those experiences? Because from what I understand, you've done it more than once.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about that?
I think I've had many mentors in my life, starting from a young age with my parents and my sisters and my family, but then you sometimes want to pay for a mentor. Going from real estate to trucking. So in real estate, when you're in sales, you're more accustomed to being, it's offered to you to go to seminars and conventions and listen to guest speakers that motivate people. And that was part of real estate. We were surrounded by that quite often. When I left and came into the trucking world, I realized that I was by myself, and not by myself as far as like I had my team, but I was here to mentor my team. Now I needed somebody to mentor me. And I realized that I was missing that whole concept of either motivational speaking and things like that. So I went searching. I did it on purpose. I went searching because I did not know how to face everything that was happening as an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman, as a leader. I did not know how to make sense of it all. So I purposely went looking for it. And what I found was the Denise that I didn't know existed. Do you know what I mean? The Denise that just created a new self-image and realized that she's capable beyond measures. And the Denise that doesn't, can have a dominant personality, but is still very kind-hearted and very giving and very honest and wants the best for the entire world. So that's what I needed. Now, there's a lot of people that will do a mentor or they'll sign up for being mentored, but then they're not willing to do the work.
Right. Yeah.
Your results are going to show depending on how much work you want to do. So I can guarantee you spend 1,000, you'll make 10,000 because of being mentored, but only if you're willing to do the work. I mean, I followed all the instructions every night. I did what I had to do because I was paying lots of money, first of all. And I wanted to learn. I wanted to help myself.
I think that's a really good point you make, is because a lot of people, again, going back to the more informal or free mentoring and coaching, a lot of mentees make the mistake of just showing up and expecting like there's going to be, the mentor's just going to have like a download switch and you're just going to all of a sudden get all of their life experience, or they're just going to talk at you and just you're just going to be like aha moment after aha moment. And I think that is one of the key misunderstandings about mentoring and coaching, is that you need to come prepared. Like you need to have questions, you need to have scenarios, you have to know what it is you want to ask. And I think to me, you just made the switch in my head go off, is why the paid mentor ones are probably exponentially more successful. Because if I lay out $1,000 of my money, I'm not going to not do my homework. I'm not going to show up not prepared, because the person I'm paying is just going to be like, okay, well, if you don't have any questions, like, peace out. Like they got paid. So like, if I'm not willing to take advantage of that opportunity. So that to me, you just, like I said, you just flipped a switch in my head. I think is probably the marked difference, is that a lot of people, if they finally get to the point of saying to someone, will you be my mentor? A lot of people don't. There's a lot of informal mentors mentorships that just happen with people. But like, if you ever get to the point of asking someone to be your mentor, then you book a meeting and then you show up and you don't even have anything, a framework. It's a missed opportunity. But whereas again, if you're going to lay out money for these people who, are qualified and have successfully mentored tons of people, you're not going to not show up. You're not going to show up unprepared.
But I think that you're right. But I think there's so many people around us that are mentors. I mean, now I look at mentors totally different because I am surrounded by mentors myself, like in business, whoever I'm dealing with, my lenders, my accountant, my lawyers, my CFO, they're all my mentors, so there's different levels. But it goes back to, when we were talking about driving in the car and you don't even realize that you drove that distance. We call that unconscious competent. We go through life unconsciously, not living by intent or with intent. So we just we fly by the seat of our pants, basically. And imagine what you can accomplish when you're really going through life with intent and really awareness. So if you're really wanting a mentor and you're really wanting to learn, you can. But you're right. Everybody has to show up physically or mentally. You can show up physically, but mentally is the most important.
So I'm going to just pop over here for a minute and see if we have any questions, because I, again, could talk to you forever. And I know I'm trying to be mindful of time. So let me just check here to see if there's any questions. And if not, I'll keep going on a tear here for a second. Comment from Peggy Arsenal. She says, you're an amazing woman, great attitude and great outlook. Mina Marquis agrees. Mina also says you're a great painter and artist.
Thanks, Mina.
Lisa Cudmore, again, I apologize to anybody I'm mispronouncing your name. She's an awesome leader who empowers her staff to grow and be themselves. You aren't just an employee, you're family. Sean Warman said, well said, Lisa, I agree. Sean Legier, I agree, Lisa, 100% love working for Auction Transport Services and Denise Beaupre and our large family. Oh, awesome. There we go. So just lots of praise awesome. There. That's awesome. So that's really cool. So now I can get back to the book. Okay. So I do like some of the, so then you kind of give people the idea, the roadmap of, you know, here's some things to do, the self-reflection, here's some things to think about. And then the second half of the book kind of really becomes practical to-dos. And like, you know, it's more tactical, I guess, in a way too, for people to be like, here's how you can now implement in this, in your life, in your business, in your family, in your company. So always leave people with a sense of increase. Do what you want, what you want for yourself, you want for others. Stop competing and start creating, and gratitude. So is there anything you want to talk about in any of those broad categories? I think they're great.
Yeah, and that's all part of my studies through my mentor. And these things I learned because I was told that for 30 days I had to read these chapters. Mm-hmm. And what happened is they became engraved in me to live with gratitude. They became engraved in me that why should I only, you know, we have the concept that, or you're a business owner, or you've got a title, well, you make more money, or well, you know what? No, if I want something for myself, I should want it for everybody else. There's no jealousy here. There's no, and it comes back to competition. So I immediately apply that into my business as well. So whatever I was learning, I was bringing it to my staff. Now we do sessions on, like tomorrow morning, we do a session on personal and business growth, because if I can bring success to my employees, if I can provide them a different lifestyle than they've ever been accustomed to, great. That's what I want, right? And it comes back, it ties into everybody that comes into your life. Give them a sense of increase, meaning give them value, give them a reason, or say, my gosh, that was a great person, or my gosh, I want to know more, or my gosh, like, you know, give them a smile. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's a sense of belonging, a sense of caring, a sense of all that stuff. And I mean, I was not like this years ago. I mean, I was a different person, but with all my studies, and I've grown to be a different person. And, you know, it's beautiful. It's beautiful because we now see the beauty in other people, and we just want to get it out of them.
Yeah, and celebrate other people's successes too.
That's right.
Be about community and collaboration over competition. Like it's like you said earlier, and we talked about earlier, is that there's enough out there for everybody. Like it doesn't have, just because someone else got it doesn't mean you need to be upset about it. Like celebrate it. Gratitude
is such a big thing. I mean, I find myself being grateful for the hardest experiences in my entire life. Like I'll just drive down the road and I'll just say thank you, or I'll say thank you for witnessing this beautiful sunset or sunrise. Like I just say thank you a lot of times for different things, for every lesson. You know, that was a tough one to learn, but thank you very much for teaching it to me, right?
Yes.
So it's all about gratitude. And if we go through life without even taking the single minute to be grateful for anything, you got to force yourself until it becomes second nature. You have to.
Yes. Yeah. And then it just becomes part of your everyday, and really like that, and you don't think twice about it. So it's really just start the habit, and then all of a sudden you'll be doing it all the time.
Your life will change. Your life will change 100%. Doesn't mean that you will never go through obstacles or bad experiences. You're always going to have good, bad, whatever. It's part of life.
Yeah.
But you got to be, if you go through life consciously and with intent, then you're aware that, oh my gosh, those are all for good reasons. You're learning those are all that journey that's bringing you to that goal.
Yes, right? For sure. And I did like too, where you talked about, for people in their businesses or their companies to have fun and laugh. And that at one point, someone said to you that I hear you bring life to the office. And I think that's like an amazingly great compliment for someone to receive. And I think it's important because a lot of places don't, it's not part of their culture, and people forget to have fun. Like people don't want to try new things. And I don't know when fun has only decided that fun's only for kids. Like I'm like, it's funny to see like some people just don't want to try new things, and like, cause they think they're going to look silly or stupid, but it's like, who cares? What difference does it make? So I thought it was great that you said like, have fun and laugh.
You should hear us in our office, in my office. I mean, some days it's just, you would think it's a zoo in here. Like we're working, but my gosh, we're laughing and we're joking and we're supporting each other. And that's the whole beauty of it, is just, but when it's time to be serious, it's time to be serious, and that's fine. But yeah, you can't, you have to make, as a leader, you have to make fun of yourself just as much as anything else. And that allows everybody else to warm up as well and have fun, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Don't take yourself too seriously. It's not COVID.
No.
That's what I say to people.
I don't know how we're going to.
It's not life or death. I'm not saving a life here. I'm just trying to lend people money. It's just, we'll figure it out.
I mean, I would rather hear them make crazy noise of laughing than hearing them crying. If they're crying, and I mean, it happens. I cry, you know, like if they're crying, something's wrong. Something is definitely wrong. When they're when they're laughing, they're happy. You know,
or complete silence. If it's complete silence, that's never good either, right? Like
that's not the kind of work environment that I want. So
yeah. And then be vulnerable. And I thought that was a good one. I liked Brene Brown's what is it? Dare to Lead, her book, where she talks about being vulnerable and how we all kind of put armor on, and that it's important to be vulnerable. And so I thought that was great that you put that in here, that vulnerability is trusting. It's honesty, courage, and being truthful. It's the opposite of weakness. So I think that's a lesson a lot of us need to understand. I think, again, we're starting to see some of that where when you think of things like the mental health conversation, right? Like that has really evolved over time. And even things like the Me Too movement or the Black Lives Matter movement, it's because people have taken the position of being vulnerable and started sharing their experiences and having those uncomfortable and difficult conversations that suddenly we as a society took that armor off and started interacting in that dialogue and realizing, you know, things aren't so great in a variety of different pockets, but it takes people being vulnerable for something like that to start.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. I mean, the changes that I've gone through in the last few years have not been an easy transition for me. And unfortunately, I can't always hide, you know, so so sometimes they see a side of me that I just can't help. And it is who I am, but I think it makes everybody else appreciate each other a lot more. And there's nothing wrong with being vulnerable. There's nothing wrong with showing emotions. There's nothing wrong with any of that. So,
and I think too, it's also now that we're literally living in people's homes, like through our computers, like you've seen people's kids wander in during a conference call, or their dog starts barking, or whatever it is, or somebody starts vacuuming, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just literally forced vulnerability at those moments, because
or they're in their pajamas,
it's just like, you know, or someone forgets to mute and they flush a toilet, and you're just like, it's just, you know, like these crazy weird things have been happening in everyone's life for the last 14 months.
You see somebody with no makeup, or you see somebody, you know, they're very
no one cares. Exactly. So I think that's another aspect of vulnerability that a lot of us have taken on. And I hope we kind of maintain some of that in terms of, like, if things go back to quasi-normal and we're back out, I hope we don't just get back in that same rotation, that we realize that, you know, people have lives and people are human, and sometimes it's okay if you can hear kids screaming in the background, and do you know what I mean, like those kind of things. So those are, I thought that was I like that point too.
Brings us back down to earth, really. It's makes us human.
Yes. Yeah. And then I liked your whole chapter on nourishing your team, and you break it down by different sectors. So whether it's vision or goals or communication and respect, that there's different ways of nourishing yourself and your team and your business, and that it's kind of allows people just think a little different about these kind of things and think of it from a nourishment perspective, not a profit and loss perspective of, well, does this cost me money, or do you know what I mean? Like, or do I have time to really say good morning to everyone? And I don't like the morning. So like those type of things, rather than looking at it from a dollars and cents perspective, and look at this as that every action you're taking in these variety of areas is about nourishing your team, your business, yourself.
Well, running a business is really about people. It is not about numbers. And if you do not nourish your team, and if you do not take care of your team, you're not going to have a business. Okay. So whatever building you have, whatever business you have, take all the people out of it, you got nothing left. So, you know, I think we grew up with the idea that a customer is the most important customer. Of course, they're important. Customer is very important, but the reflection of the company starts with your employees. And if they're well treated, they're going to treat the customers right as well. And then the word of mouth. And then, you know, it's just it's the culture. It's a make or break of any business, but especially COVID right now. I mean, look at how many hotels have not even reopened. Well, they're taking all the people out of the building. There is no business anymore. You know? Think about it that way. It's
then tourism, same thing. All the people, like, it's just, you can't go anywhere. There's no, that industry doesn't exist. So yeah. And then the last quote I want to share is a quote that you said you like as well, is, when setting out on a journey, do not seek advice from those who have never left home. And I thought that was very fitting.
We were talking about that earlier. We all know that person that has never left its own city, but it's true. Like, why are we taking, and it comes back to what I was saying, we are surrounded by noise everywhere, and we don't know what's reality and what's false news. So why are we so concentrated on everybody else's opinion? We need to think for ourselves. You know, again, like, let's talk about COVID. I mean, it's obviously on the subject, but vaccines and why not. I mean, listen, I respect anybody's opinion, but I have to do what I feel is right for me and my employees and my business, and what is the right example. Now, there are people that have different opinions about taking a vaccine, and if it's health related, or there could be very good reasons why you don't want the vaccine, and I'm okay with that. I will respect that. What I have a harder time with is when people are letting themselves be influenced by somebody else's opinion.
When all of a sudden somebody's video on YouTube has the same weight as a scientist who's spent their entire existence studying, you know, viruses. Like, it doesn't, that part, that's what drives me nuts. Is like, no, it's not, this isn't a do your own research scenario. This is a based on the advice of experts. So if your medical doctor says you shouldn't get it, don't get it. But otherwise, some person buried in the hole of the internet.
I mean, I have no problem with people that have a good reason or their own reason, and it's their own judgment. It's what feels good for them. That's fine, you know, but you're not going to ask your doctor about your profit and loss at the end of the month, right? In your business. So, you know, you gotta watch where are you getting your information from? Yes, exactly.
So, so I thought that was awesome. So if people are interested in buying this book, which I think people should be, because I just raved about it for an hour and 20 minutes. So, and that was just the parts I had highlighted, everybody. So there's plenty more in there. Where can they get the book? Okay.
You can get it on Amazon.ca or .com, Rise Above, or just punch in my name and it will come up. Or I have some on hand. So, you know, I've donated a lot of them too. So if you, like, your business in professional women, how many people are in there? I would be happy to donate a book for everybody in that group. So, you know, call me or on Amazon. It doesn't matter.
Awesome. Cool. And are any parting words? And thank you so much for being generous with your time. I know we've kind of went even longer than normally I do, but I was very excited to talk about all this stuff. So thank you for that. So do you have any parting words of wisdom or advice that you want to make sure we get out there into the world before we call it an evening?
Oh my gosh. I think we'd be here for another 2 hours. No, I'm just kidding. No, you know, like just be a human being, a good human being. I think we all want to, for me, I think women can lead with love that most men have a harder time with. And I think if you come from a place of a good heart and love, you can't go wrong. And that's what I aim for every day. So I'm not perfect, and I get mad and I get upset and I get angry and I get emotional, but still from a good heart. And
Yeah.
I think if everybody in this world, you know, that would be the only way we get rid of war. You know, there's so many things in this world, and I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you. It's just one of those things. There's so many things I would love to say, but we'd be here.
Well, you're welcome back at any time, so we can certainly
Sure.
set up another time and just chit chat about whatever's on your mind at that point in time. Or maybe you'll have another book too, then, and we could talk about that. I promise not to read the whole thing to everybody.
Someday, I really hope. I think that, you know, that was one part of my life, and things have changed so much. And I think that there's so much I can help with, you know, like relationships and being in a toxic relationship and things like that, that I don't know when I'll be able to write that book and when I'll decide, or if I can even bring myself to do that. But I think there's lots to be said. And anyways, maybe one day I'll bring myself to that.
Awesome. Either way, again, you have an open invitation. Let me know anytime you want to come back, and we'll set it up.
Okay, you let me know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
You too. Bye.